I love how the comments have changed from, oh, it's only gonna get worse from here, to, remember this detail? You see this detail right here? Make sure you remember it. You hear that? You gotta make sure you remember it. Come on, guys. Let me remember things on my own time. Besides, I forgot all about the things you told me to remember. Anywho, back to our present, which we're not gonna be in the present that long, I'm gonna guess. I remember that part pretty well myself. At the time, I didn't even know what Osco did for a living, and to be honest, I was too caught up with my own problems to spare too much thought for anyone else.
当時のあなたはまだ子供だったのだから。
Yeah.
それでいいのよ。
We're a child. We're not gonna be thinking about that. We definitely had a lot of problems ourselves. You know, I thought I got past being a child a long time ago, but even now, I can't say I really feel like an adult either.
実際にあの当時、あなたは何を考えていたの？
I feel like I was worrying about all sorts of things, but at the same time, I think I spent most of my energy just trying to process the situation I'd found myself in.
子供が経験するにはいろいろとありすぎたものね。
Really, yes. Yeah, can't argue with that with you there. Nope, that's a big... Oh, Jesus, don't. I don't like when the screen does this. Osco had taken me in. I was now living quietly in an isolated mountain hut surrounded by nature. But for some time, I didn't really understand the ways in which my life had changed. My hospital room and its depressing odors had been replaced with a small cabin enveloped by the stink of ripe grass. The doctor who wore gold-rimmed glasses and smelled of cigarettes was gone, as was the nurse with the fake smile. I could tell that nurse's smile was fake. They'd been replaced by a pushy, crude lady and a nagging blonde. That was about it, from my perspective. Day in and day out, the only thing I thought about was escape. I had to get out of this place. No, Yuuji, stop it. I didn't even know what I needed to get away from or where I'd run to. But that didn't change a thing. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't stay anywhere for too long. If I did, something was going to track me down and kill everyone around me. Nah, it's fine. I didn't have the first idea of what that something was. But if it caught up to me, it was going to use my right hand to kill people. The demon! The words of Li Lisheng, Heath Oslo, still rang in my ears. No. Oh.
君は誰に会ってもいけない。会えばその人はきっと君を傷つける。役立たずの君を、邪魔者の君を殺そうとする。何を話しかけられても返事をしてはいけない。
God, this fucking man just embedded himself super... Oh, Jesus.
君の家族を殺したのもその悪いやつだ。君を傷つけ苦しめるために君の周りの人間を殺してしまうとても悪いやつだ。
No, I think we found some nice people.
やつは君が大切なものを手に入れるたびにそれを壊しにやってくる。君がそばにいるだけで君の周りはどんどん壊されていく。君は何も悪いことをしていないというのにだ。
I don't think that's the case, but it's fine. I'm a kid. I'm gonna listen to what anyone tells me.
君がいるだけで周りの人間皆が迷惑する。誰も君なんか必要としていない。君に逃げ場なんてない。誰も守ってなんかくれない。
I don't know. I feel like Asuka could protect me pretty easily because she's like ultimate badass over here.
でも安心してほしい。私だけは君の味方だ。この世でたった一人の君の理解者だ。
Don't even with this guy.
辛いね。苦しいね。もちろん私は全部わかっているさ。君は人生という木から落ちたまだ青すぎる果実だ。誰も君に見向きもしない。それどころか 腐っていく君を見て眉を寄せるだけだ。そう。君は嫌われているんだ。だけど何も悲しむことはない。この私が君を拾おう。
No, stop.
私が君を拾って種を取り出し、新たな大地に植えて育ててあげよう。
I get it, you're being real poetic, but I don't really like you, so stop.
やがて立派に成長した君は私のためにその枝にたくさんの果実をつけるだろう。それが私への恩返しだ。わかるね？
No, I don't want it. I don't want to repay any kindness.
けど今はまだ君を植えてあげる新たな大地が見つからない。悪い奴が邪魔をしているんだ。だからまずはその悪い奴を退治するところから始めなければいけない。そしてそれは君自身が自分の手で成し遂げなければならない仕事だ。
Oh, Jesus.
さあユージ、立ち上がるんだ。その体が腐ってしまう前に。手を出してごらん。この薬が君の体が腐るのを止める薬だ。やれるね。やがて手に入れる約束の大地のために。
No. No.
君に選択肢はないんだよ、ユージ。
There's always a choice. No. No. Oh, well. The promised land is your only possible destination. No! I've heard that dreams are the brain's way of processing our memories, and they're pretty fucked up sometimes. I suppose that would explain why my nightmares are always so terrible. My brain didn't exactly have anything pleasant to work with. Awakening in the dark, I looked around the cabin, faintly illuminated by the starlight filtering in through the window. My pupils had probably dilated again. When I lifted my sweaty upper body from the bed, the entire cabin seemed to tilt underneath me. For a moment, it felt as if I might just slide down the floor and fall off into nothingness. That's probably what we would rather want right now. I was exhausted, physically and mentally, but I didn't feel like I could possibly fall back to sleep. From beyond the curtain that separated our beds, I could hear Asuko snoring softly, almost like a child. Dude, she sleeps pretty well. She heard us scream, or like we just fucking screamed no. Oh God, I lowered my feet to the floor and stood up, then looked in on Asuko. Finding her curled up like a cat in her bed, I proceeded to quietly make my way out of the cabin. What on earth was I doing here? It was long past time to make a break for it, don't even. But where was I going to go after leaving this place? Nothing really comes to mind. Maybe I'd just die on the side of the road somewhere. The idea didn't really bother me, to be honest. It wasn't as if I deserved anything better. Ouch. My life didn't have any real purpose. I was just a small animal like any other, running around frantically because it didn't want to die. But you have so much going on now. As I stepped out of the cabin, I glanced up and found the sky absolutely full of stars like the visual novel. It's so beautiful. The mountain air was clear, and we were a long way from the glaring lights of the city, so the night sky was breathtakingly brilliant. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. We are, in fact, in the middle of nowhere, so the sky would be beautiful. I'd forgotten just how many stars there were up there. As I stared at the twinkling panorama above, feeling as if it might swallow me whole, I felt something brush against me. When I looked down, I found the puppy Asuko had given me rubbing against my leg. I was going to say, is the puppy still, it's going to be like, hey, what's up? All right. Almost forgot about you. Even if I were to flee, I couldn't just leave the dog behind. Back when Mom ran away from my father, I was probably a lot like this puppy in her eyes. Not that I had any way to know for sure, now that she was gone. In any case, there was nowhere for me to run. There was no one left out there who'd protect me. Even the man who'd promised to keep me safe had disappeared. All I had left in this world was this puppy, and nothing else. But even so, this woman named Kusakabe Asuko just might be able to help me. You think? Even if the devil caught up to me, and my right hand tried to kill someone again, she might be able to stop me. Oh yeah. Even if my hand tried to kill her, she might be able to survive. She didn't seem like the type to die easily. Maybe she'd even be kind enough to kill me instead. She'd stop you, but there aren't any saints out there. No one's really on your side. I knew all that by now. But maybe I could try trusting that woman anyway. Couldn't hurt to give it at least one last shot, right? Yes! Let's go back in. Yes! Deciding to head back into the cabin and try my best to fall asleep, I bent down and picked up the dog at my feet. When I turned around, I found myself face to face with Asuko. She was leaning against the doorway, arms folded with a wry smile on her face.
どうした？眠れないのならベッドで絵本を読んでやろうか。
I feel like I'd rather appreciate that. I answered this somewhat sardonic offer with a deeply sarcastic smile. All right then, Snow White sounds good.
言うじゃねえか。
I like it. From that point on, I found myself willing to trust this Kusakabe Asuko woman, at least on a superficial level. This marked the beginning of my rehabilitation period. Little by little, I began to adjust to living with Asuko and my dog in that isolated cabin. But one day, oh no, completely out of nowhere, Asuko walked over to me and issued the following proclamation.
いいか、ユージ。ガキのうちは足が速い男がモテる。
What? What? Okay, I didn't see why being popular with women was so important. But I was aware that I'd grown weak physically, so I went along with the routine Asuko proposed. Waking up at 5 a.m. every morning for a run around the mountain with my dog! Fortunately, I didn't dislike running in the first place. In fact, you could probably say it had been my only form of recreation for a while there. I ran at a steady rhythm, carefully establishing my pace, and just watched the scenery flow slowly by. After 5 kilometers or so, my body would beg me to stop. Still, I always pushed myself to go just a little further. By the time I passed the 8-kilometer mark, the discomfort faded away entirely. It felt like I could go as far as I wanted. Probably best not to damage ourselves, though. Of course, I'd end up regretting it if I got carried away here. That feeling meant I'd hit my peak. Unless I headed home now, I wouldn't make it back to the starting point. The rolling path I was using ran the circumference of the mountain for a total of 16 kilometers. It was a rough trail. Asuko herself had made it by running through the woods when she was younger. Every morning, I followed in her footsteps with John at my side.
よし、戻ってきたか。ずいぶんと早いな。ガキにしちゃ上等だ。途中で近道したんじゃねえだろうな。
No shortcuts. No.
まあ近道しようにも道なんてねえけどな。間違ってもズルしようとなんて思うなよ。うかつにも一直線に近道をしようとすればすぐに方向がわからなくなる。
Jesus, like, even if you tried, you'd just get fucking lost in the woods. On a small mountain like this?
嘘だと思うなら試してみろ。方位磁石を使っても構わんぞ。
I mean, if I have a compass, I might be fine.
ほら、見上げてみろ。頭上は厚い葉に覆われて、日の光も届かない。磁石を頼りにまっすぐ進んでいるつもりでも、岩や倒木を避けて進むうちに必ず迷う。
I don't want to end up in an Amine sort of situation with just myself. That's scary as it is.
そのままに3時間も歩いて、見慣れた道に出たと思えば、最初に分け入った道から200メートル先に顔を出した。なんてことはよくあることだ。もし本気で試すのなら、必ず携帯電話か無線を持っていけ。迷子になった上に動き回られたら、さすがの私も必ず見つけ出してやるとは言えんからな。
At least we got permission to do that if we wanted to, as long as we take some shit with us. I don't really doubt you, and I'm not really planning on testing it.
そうしろ。この山自体はそうでかくはない山だが、たまにクマやイノシシが出るからな。
Oh god, there's bears. Dude, don't fuck with boars, though. Just don't. Couldn't you have mentioned that before I went jogging?
なーに、めったに出やしないから大丈夫だ。それに、そのためにジョンを連れて走ってるんだろうが。
I don't think you're really casual about these things, aren't you?
お前は逆にもっと雑に生きた方が少しは人生楽しくなるぞ。
You're damn right. You're damn right. I didn't really give a damn what happened to me, which honestly seemed like pretty casual attitude on its own right. But I cared even less about this argument, so I kept the thought to myself. Over the first few days of my new morning routine, I didn't encounter any bears. But I did notice a few tree trunks where boars had marked their territory, and a mud wallow where one had evidently rolled around to trap the parasites in its fur. So there are really wild boars out here. It's a little unnerving, but I kept up my daily run with John anyway, slowly regaining my strength. And once I was more or less back to normal, Asuko proceeded to throw a new curveball my way. Oh, lordy lord.
よーし。なんだお前。足の速さは一丁前じゃねえか。だったら次だ。
I don't know about stage 2 already. Stage 2.
いいかユージ。かけっこが速いやつがヒーローになれるのは小学生までだ。中学生になれば喧嘩の強い不良っぽい男がモテるようになる。
Aw, jeez. Seriously, what was so important about getting girls? In the first place, who was I supposed to be getting out in the middle of nowhere? It didn't make much sense to me, but arguing would probably be more trouble than it's worth. Okay, so what do you want me to do? When I offered this reflexive response, Asuko quickly ripped off her jacket and tossed it aside, yup.
よし、どこからでもかかってこい。
I'm fucked. Just ... This woman was seriously macho, yup. Guys who get into fistfights with women aren't going to be popular, you know. This is fine.
なんだ、ビビってんのか。それでも金玉ついてんのか。
Damn. She's throwing it at you, Yuuji. What are you gonna do? Of course I do. You've seen them yourself. And laughed at them when you yanked them around.
そうだったか。まあいいや。そっちが来ないならこっちから行くぞ。ほれ。
Oh god, she's going first. This is bad. Whoa! Whoa! Ah! For an instant, I wasn't sure what had happened to me. I hadn't been sent flying like that since my time at Oslo's school, when one of the instructors had thrown me halfway across the training ground. A sharp burning smell prickled the inside of my nose. I had the sense of that something was melting inside my head. I'd almost forgotten what this felt like. Oh.
一応受け身は取れるのか。面白い。ほら立てよ。もう一度行くぞ。
Asuko, this might awaken something inside me that I'm not really comfortable about. Ugh, damn it.
お、掴みを切れないと悟った瞬間に痛みを抜いたか。お前、基本はできてるじゃないか。
I mean, I did go to a terrorist school, so, I mean... Ugh.
けど、耐えるだけじゃどうにもならんぞ。ほれ。
Ugh.
細っこい腕しやがって。力がないなら相手の力を利用しろよ。ほら、押すぞ。踏ん張れ。
I'm getting all the tips.
なあ、そうやって踏ん張ってる相手の力を利用すんだって。こんな感じで。どうしたほら。私は力なんか入れてないぞ。お前が勝手に転んでるんだ。わかるか？
Seems like I didn't even do anything. Yeah, I get the idea. Of course, understanding in theory didn't mean I could compete. Given her skill, the difference in physical size and strength was too much to overcome. Still, the casual way she tossed me around was kind of pissing me off. so I began trying pretty seriously to make her regret it. But the woman wasn't just bigger than me, she also had long limbs that made it hard to get in close and grapple. On top of that, her style of hand-to-hand combat was a strange mishmash of techniques, so it was all but impossible to get a read on her. Yes! If you can't take them out by crushing their head, try to at least do some damage to their extremities. Oh.
てめえこの野郎、今マジで私の小指を折りに来たな。
Imagine a wall on your right. Swing your right arm up with all your body weight behind it.
くそ。
Oh no, the training.
ちょ待って、首に肘が。てめえこらマジか。この。
Ah!
やるじゃねえかユージ。お前にもうちょっと体重があったら今のはマジでやばかった。
I was gonna say I might have had her in a bad position there. Are you satisfied yet? Let's just stop. I hate this sort of thing.
んだこら勝ち逃げか？ふざけんなボケ。これ。いいかユージ。お前は何も分かっちゃいねえな。お前力と暴力の区別がついてねえだろ。
I don't see the difference. That's the point. What difference is there?
正しく使えば力。間違って使えば暴力。そして正しいか間違いかを決めるのは己自身。持っていれば必ず使わなければいけないというわけでもない。力を使わないこともまた威力。すべては志ってやつよ。なあユージよ、本当の力ってのはな、チンピラが持つ刃物とは全く別のものだ。男は男が男として男たるべき時に力を使う。例えば弱者を脅威から守る時、己が生き様を貫く時、全てをかなぐり捨ててでも戦わなければならない時が男には必ず来る。
The learning! The tips!
そんな時何ができるかで男の進化が試されるんだ。わかるか？
I don't even want to understand. Violence is violence.
バカだなおめえは。
You haven't learned a thing and just destroys me.
そうだな。じゃあバカなおめえにもっとわかりやすく例えてやる。例えばそう、惚れた女が心底困った事態に直面した時、何もしてやれない自分が悔しかねえのか？力がなければ動けなくなった女を背負って逃げてやることもできねえだろうが。
A real man would do something before it came to that. Sometimes you can't help things, you know?
生意気なことを言うじゃねえか。けどな、世の中そんなにうまくいくことばっかりじゃねえってのはお前が一番よくわかってるだろうが。
Ooh. Yeah. I felt that.
男ってのはそんな時のためにこっそりと牙を研ぎ続ける生き物だ。覚えておけ。
Ow! I remember that. Again and again, she smacked me and wrestled me to the ground, yanking my arm up behind me. She pressed her knee into my back until the air was forced out of my lungs. It was a struggle just to breathe.
どうした？ほれほれ、男ならピンチを楽しめよ。心が折れれば一気に負けるぞ。簡単に諦めるな。
The goddamn face she gives all the time.
どんなに打ちのめされても心が折れなきゃ喧嘩は負けじゃねえ。どんなに絶望的な状況にあっても諦めなければ必ずチャンスはある。
Yes, there's always a chance.
力だけじゃねえ、頭も使え。使えるものは何でも使え。ほらどうした、もっと頑張れよ。
John!
てめえ犬を使うんじゃねえよ、卑怯だぞ。
Listen, I'm using all my tools available now. You're the one who told me to use anything I can. Get her, John! Oh. He's tasted blood now. In the end, no matter how many times I challenged her, I never did manage to beat Asuka without John's help. Dude, that's a... John fucking came in like a damn... I'm not gonna say it because it's a dead meme. It was honestly pretty humiliating. I got frustrated enough to try more or less anything, but no matter what, I just couldn't get the upper hand. Of course, it wasn't as if beating Asuka in a fight would have meant anything, so there's no real reason to keep trying, but that felt like sour grapes thinking, and I couldn't shake the lingering sense of irritation. Deciding to outsmart Asuka somehow, I began to watch her like a hawk for some sign of weakness. But before I could find one, she went ahead and made another absurd proclamation. Oh, good lord.
いいかユージよ。多少バカでも喧嘩が強いやつがモテるのは中学生までだ。高校生になったら今度は頭のいいやつがモテるようになる。
Oh god. Not this again. After all that about training my body and developing my willpower, now she just suddenly is telling me to spend more time studying. Just so you know, JB already helps me study, and I'm doing fine with my correspondence school courses.
優等生のお返事だな。学校の成績イコール頭の良さか？あんなもっさり女に勉強を教わってるから、そんなダセえ価値観に染まるんだボケ。
I mean, book smarts helps too, you know. Okay, so are you smart yourself, Asuko?
当たり前だろ。こう見えても私は本が読めるんだぞ。
Wow, very impressive. I'm progressively getting more emotion into his voice. I hope you guys picked up on that.
お前今私のことすげえバカにしただろ。
Well, I do think most Japanese people who got through middle school can read books just fine. Come to think of it, though, you actually do spend a lot of time reading, don't you? Mm-hmm.
だろ。こう見えてインテリなんだよ私は。
Okay, I don't know about calling yourself an intellectual, but I guess I'll roll with it, just to make my life a little easier.
言っておくがな。お前が先生と崇める JB なんかより私の方が頭いいんだぞ。
I feel like you both have your respective areas with which you're smarter in. Really? If we're talking about books, I'm pretty sure JB's read plenty herself.
確かに。でもあいつは読むだけだ。私は読んだ後、本で得た知識を実践で確かめる。
Like right after you read? In other words, when you finish a fighting manga, you try to imitate the hero's special move?
違うつの。あ、いや、そう違わなくもないか。
Dude, I do that. What's the problem?
例えばそう、家庭菜園の本を読めば、私は読後に実際に家庭菜園を作る。本で得た知識が実際に役立つかテストをするわけだ。
Oh, I think I can understand what you mean. When I was little, I used to read my sister's science magazines and try out some of the experiments myself.
つまりはそういうことよ。本を書くような偉い先生がこうだと言ったら、それを丸ごと信じて疑わない JB と。
I've actually done that before. You know, when you read something interesting, you're like, I wonder if that's actually a thing, so you try it, and either works or doesn't.
自分で試して結果を得るまで納得しないこの私。どっちが有識者かって話よ。
I mean, JB's a font of knowledge, like just base knowledge, right? Like, yeah, I get it. Okay, my big sister was the same way. She always used to say that experience is the highest form of knowledge. I can't remember how many times she told me to try it out and see what happens. Yup.
お前の姉ちゃん天才か?
The best genius I ever knew. Well, everyone said she was, ever since she was little. She got pretty cranky when people said it to her face, though.
なるほどな。お前が変なところで妙に端っこいのはそれが原因か。
Slick?
まあ、軍ではおおむねずる賢いとか、油断のならないやつって意味だ。
Well, the army?
まあそんなことはどうでもいい。 とにかく人生とは経験が全てだ。経験の伴わない知識なんて童貞が語る女の話に等しく虚しい記憶でしかない。
I like the analogy. That seems like a pretty extreme argument in its own right.
まあとにかく本を読め。そして気になったことは試せ。それが生きた知識となってお前を生かす糧になる。読みたい本があれば言え。それが漫画だろうと構わない。いくらでも買ってやる。好きなだけ読め。満足するまで読め。
Well, I appreciate this, this...
本っていうのは著者の生き様そのものだ。他人の人生が詰まってる。そして気になったことを試せば他人の人生を自分の中に取り入れることになる。まさに人生丸儲けってやつだ。
God, that face gets me every time. Okay, well, I always used to read books when my sister had finished, so I guess I'll just read whatever you're done with, Asuko.
まあとりあえずはそれでいいか。
I mean, it's like a habit we had. We'd read after Kazuki.
私は JB みたいに人に物を教えるってのが苦手だ。こんな風にしかお前に何か教えてやることができない。それでも何かお前の役に立つのならそれが一番だ。お前はバカにするかもしれないが本が読めるってことは素晴らしいことなんだぞ。もっと人生を楽しめよ。読書ってのは人生の糧だ。
Don't I know it? I read every single day. Okay. As of that day, I was explicitly allowed to read any of the books on the shelves in Asuko's room. Most of these were practical how-to books, but every once in a while, a novel or two that JB had brought over would be mixed in. I worked through classic mysteries, popular bestsellers, new books from famous authors, and science magazines for young adults that we subscribed to through JB. For a while there, I spent pretty much all my free time reading. Occasionally setting up practical experiments based on some detail that caught my interest. After a while, I realized that Asuko's analogy hadn't been that silly after all. It really was like stepping into someone else's life. And by absorbing new experiences and ideas, I was slowly expanding my knowledge of the world. By this point, I'd settled into a routine. In the morning, I'd go out on my daily run, then read the books JB assigned as part of my curriculum, and then in the afternoon, I learned practical skills like hand-to-hand combat from Asuko. It's a fulfilled day. A fulfilled day? I didn't even try to say fulfilled. I just was trying to say it's a full day. It's like I'm in the army or something. When I made this particular complaint, Asuko grinned, muttered, "True enough," under her breath.
問題ない。お前一人で100人の兵士と戦えるように育ててやるさ。
And we know that comes to fruition. And made me a truly absurd promise. Is it that absurd, really? Of course, at that point, I still didn't have any idea what line of work Asuko was in.
ちなみに聞くけど、その当時のあなたから見て、私ってどんな仕事をしている人に見えたの？
Let's see, you were always wearing nice suits, so I guess I pictured you working for a foreign IT company or something? I'm not really sure, but for some reason I was pretty convinced you were an ambitious career woman.
じゃあ、朝子のことはどう思っていたの？
A brute. Not... Well, I don't want to speak ill of her or anything, but she was always hanging around the cabin, and when she did leave for work, it seemed pretty random. Half the time, she'd come back drunk. For a long time, I thought she was a pachinko pro or something especially equally shady.
まあ、ヤクザな仕事って意味では、あながち間違ってはいないところが少し悲しいわね。
Come to think of it, this was just about the point where I started getting curious about what Asuko did for a living. Oh god. It's like, so, Kusakabe Asuko, That was the name of my current foster dad. I didn't know her age. She'd probably have told me if I asked, but I honestly wasn't that interested. At a glance, it didn't seem like she'd even hit 30 yet. But something about her arrogant attitude and crude masculine language made her seem oddly jaded for someone her age. This might sound a little rude, but it felt like she was older than her years in a lot of ways. That's what it feels like. I guess I would have classified her as the sort of person who's beautiful until they've opened their mouth. In any case, I didn't know much of anything about Asuko, even though I'd been living together in that cabin with her for quite some time. There can be something appealing about a woman of many secrets, but in Asuko's case, one mystery in particular kind of stood out. Specifically, her occupation. She seemed to pass most of her time hanging around the cabin all day long. In the daylight hours, she'd drink booze and watch TV in her underwear. Once she got sleepy, she'd nod off on the spot. It was like watching a polar bear at a zoo, or a really lazy college student. But every once in a while, she'd get a phone call and tell me that she was going to work and then head off the mountain by herself. At the earliest, she'd come back a few hours later. At the latest, she'd be gone for like 2 or 3 days at a time. Whenever she did get back from these jobs, she'd bring a huge amount of groceries and everyday goods with her, and promptly resume her polar bear lifestyle. I was a kid who didn't know much about the world, but even to me, it was pretty obvious Asuko wasn't working a normal job. At the very least, she wasn't a full-time employee working at some respectable company. Asuko had never explained what exactly she was doing those days she left the mountain. But every once in a while, she came home injured, so I had a vague idea it might be something kind of dangerous. Putting it all together, her general line of work seemed relatively obvious. It was probably a really tough way to make a living. True, she did spend most of her time in a ratty old tank top and cargo pants, lounging around on the sofa and guzzling beers. Or chomping away at chocolate bars while reading books, but I couldn't exactly bring myself to criticize her, even given the circumstances.
なんだ?さっきから人のことジロジロ見やがって。
He's just like looking at her, you're an enigma. It's nothing.
なんだよ。言いたいことがあるならはっきり言えよ。
What do you do for a living, Asuko? Ooh.
JB に作文の宿題でも出されたのか?
No, just curiosity. Nothing like that. I was just thinking you've never really mentioned it.
そういやそうだな。私の仕事か。お前、なんだと思う?
Well, we know it's dangerous, but do we have to say something specific? Are you a pachinko pro? He even fucking said it in the past.
お前な。
Was I wrong?
違うよ。つか、なんでそう思った?
Well, you don't go to work every day. You tend to just wander off, then come back randomly with a bunch of chocolate bars.
こりゃ、お前、あれだよ。
When I pointed this out, Asuko ejected the chocolate bar she'd been gnawing on from her mouth with an expression of mild embarrassment. And sometimes you come back injured, right? I guess I thought you were getting into fights with gangsters or something.
違うよ。私の仕事は公務員だ。
Like the answer. Are you a garbage collector or something?
違う。公務員だ。
Asuko, I don't think that means what you think it means. Hold on, I'll go get a dictionary.
持ってくんな。言葉の意味は分かってるし、使い方も間違っちゃいねえよ。
Like, I imagine he actually turned around to go grab the dictionary. But a civil servant? That's someone who works for the country or a local government, right?
そうだよ。私のクライアントは国だ。私も JB も国から出る給料をもらって仕事をしている。
Oh, I can understand that in JB's case. She's always wearing a suit and everything.
同じ職場でも あいつはホワイトカラー、私はブルーカラーなんだよ。
She's the desk job and I'm the a murder. Question mark?
わかんねえか。まあわかんねえよな。
What do you actually do at this job?
敵を倒す仕事だ。
Damn. Well, that's pretty blunt. Who are these enemies then?
国家にあだなす者は全てが敵だ。
Okay. Asuko, you're really not explaining this very well.
単純に説明した方がわかりやすいだろ。悪いやつを倒す。それだけだ。
I'd be okay with that answer, to be honest. I'd be like, all right. I'm fine with that. Like a comic book hero or something?
全然違うな。そうだな。わかりやすく学校のクラスに例えて説明してやる。
I would think Asuko was a superhero or something from a comic.
例えばお前がクラスの連中と徒党を組んでよそのクラスと小競り合いの喧嘩を繰り返していたとして学校の番長に目をつけられるわけだ。となれば当然のように番長とも喧嘩をする羽目になるわけだ。番長はよそのクラスの連中を集めてお前を敵視する。そしてお前は当然ボコられるわな。そして仲間だと思ってた奴らも早々に負けを認めてお前は孤立する。でボロ負けしたお前は番長に今後一切の暴力を禁ずると命令されるわけだが、そんな条件当然飲めるわけがねえ。でも喧嘩に負けた以上は飲まなきゃいけない。そこでお前のクラスの委員長吉田くんの古田抜きじみた手腕によって今後は喧嘩になったら全部番長にお任せしますってことになるわけだが、番長にしてみりゃいつまでも舎弟になったお前の面倒は見きれない。建前上引っ込みのつかなくなった番長は今後は何かあったら俺がお前の代わりに戦ってやるとは言うけれど、そんな約束がどこまで信じられる？わけのわからない野郎に因縁つけられて喧嘩になりそうだから番長助けてと電話してみりゃ今日は塾があるから無理とか言われてみろ。終わりだぞ。そこで求められるのが情報収集力と防衛力ってやつだ。番長に武器を取り上げられたお前、つまりは我が国だが幸いなことに盾を持つことは許されている。つまりは早期解決力として自衛のための武装が許されているってわけだ。
Like how this entire thing is just getting more and more deep as it goes on.
ところがまあ厚物に懲りてナマスを吹くって言葉もあるだろう。一度ボロ負けした国ってのは表立って武力を持つことを嫌う連中が増える。つまり武器なんか持ってるから殴られるんだという意見だな。表立った武装は NG。 そもそもそんな金はない。番長に頼りすぎれば自分でまいた種は自分で枯れとくる。さあどうする？
I'd have to take care of things myself, but as quietly as possible.
その通り。いいかユージ、この日本って国はな、番長にとっちゃ北側の玄関なんだ。この国からいろんなものを取り上げた番長側がこんなことを言うのもなんだが、国外からの侵略に対する脅威にあまりに無防備な日本において、番長の国を代表とする各協力国の出資のもと、核施設防衛を名目として設立された非公式なタイテル組織があってだな。
Oh, sorry, this is starting to get confusing. I don't really get it. I'm on board.
ああ、だからどう説明すりゃいいんだ？つまりな、この国を侵略して乗っ取ろうとする国があったとするだろ。そいつらと戦って撃退するにはこの国にはいろいろなものが足りない。
Like an army?
そう。この国には軍隊がない。番長の国から軍隊を送り込むにしても、面倒な大人のルールがあって、様々な制限がある。そこで、核施設保護の名目で、軍隊とは別の組織を新たに設立し、防衛費とは別の金で動かそうって魂胆だ。公的な組織区分としては、防衛省における特別の機関ということになる。わかるか？
Is there any simpler way you can explain this? God damn it, Yuuji.
まあ、もっと簡単に言ってしまうと、秘密警察みたいなものか？地方警察権はないがな。
Think of law and think a police force with no power. It's okay. What's a secret police force?
わからんか。そうか、困ったぞ。子供にわかりやすく説明する必要のない職業だからな。適当な言葉が見つからん。アメリカの NSA とか CSS を知っているか？
Yes, I do. The people who make the space shuttles?
いや、NASA じゃなくて。知らんか。まあ、知らんよな。つまりだ。普通の警察官じゃ対処できないような悪いやつを探したり、捕まえたりする組織だ。
Fucking Yuuji, the space shuttles? No. So you're a police officer?
いや、警察官じゃない。工作員だ。
Like how it's just kind of like roundabout-y. Like not like she's like because Yuji's just trying to understand it. He's just like, listen, an agent.
どうにも工作員って言葉はスパイを連想させてイメージが悪いな。つまりエージェントだ。
9029. I mean 47. Agent 47. So what exactly do you do?
だから超法規的活動
Extra legal. That's not very specific.
面倒なことを聞くなよ。つまり法の目をかいくぐる悪いやつを探したり捕まえたりするんだ。
Literally, you could have just said that. How's that different from being a police officer? Because police officers can't get the job done sometimes. You need a little extra.
全然違うんだが。まあ、一番の違いは相手だ。警察が相手にするのは犯人。つまり犯罪者だが、我々が相手にするのは敵だ。
Well, what's the difference? They're both people who do evil things, right?
悪いことをしていない敵もいる。
I don't get it.
なあ、ユージよ。そもそも悪とは何だと思う？
Doing bad things is evil. Simple as that.
では、正義とは何だ？正しいことか？
Yeah, that's right.
では、その行いが正しいことだと誰が決める？
My big sister did that for me. Kazuki always had the answer for me whenever I needed one.
おいおい、お前の姉ちゃんが正しいと言えばそれが正義なのか？お前の姉ちゃんが狂ってたらどうすんだよ。
Well, I had the utmost confidence in her.
それに、お前の姉ちゃんはもう死んだ。どうすんだお前。
Stop reminding me of it. But it's fine. Crazy theories.
おいおい、そんな泣きそうな顔すんなよ、鬱陶しい。
You didn't have to say it like that. You didn't have to be like, well, your sister's fucking dead. Wait, what's your next plan? Aw, jeez.
いいか、ユージ。正義を決めるのは国民だ。所詮この世は多数決だ。だが、多数決や話し合いで解決が得られない場合もあるだろう。話し合いをしている最中にズルをしてくるやつも当然いる。喧嘩になった時、止めてくれるのは父親だが、戦後の日本で父親を担ってくれたサムおじさんだって、今は自分の身に降りかかる火の粉を払う仕事が忙しい。てめえのことはてめえでやれ。 60年以上も面倒を見てやったんだ。そろそろ自立しろってな。
60 long years.
自分たちで親離れできないように仕向けておいて、随分と身勝手な父親もいたもんだろ。
It's our fault. Shouldn't have expected anything better.
その通り。だからこそ自分たちの問題を自分たちだけで自己解決できる力が必要とされる。そんな時のために我々がいるんだ。父親の手を煩わせないために子供がズボンの尻ポケットに隠したナイフ、それが私の仕事だ。わかるか？
I get it. I think I get the idea.
父親に例えたのは逆に良くなかったか？お前結局よく分かってないだろ。
I mean, my dad didn't take care of anything. I had a bottle that I used to destroy him. Yeah.
まあいいや。とにかくそれがこの国が持つ第三の目としての諜報機関、そしてこの国の3本目の腕だ。誰もが認めるわけにはいかない、そんないびつな存在こそが私と JB が所属している会社 SARS というわけだ。
Sirs.
日米合同対テロ組織中央調査部諜報2課分室セントラルインテリジェンス&リサーチセカンド、通称で SARS だ。つってもあまり表に出すわけにもいかない組織名だからな。通常は皮肉を込めて会社と呼んでいる。
It sounds like it's kind of a pain working there.
そうだぞ。そんな面倒な職場だからこそ社員はみんなパチンコやお馬さんやお船や自転車で息抜きをするんだ。
Wait, what was that whole long-winded explanation? I mean, was that whole long-winded explanation just one big excuse?
うるせえ。お前は私の女房か？玉遊びくらい好きにやらせろ。
And that's why we blow off some goddamn steam! Oh, Jesus. Even after her explanation, I still didn't really know what CIRS was, or SIRS. It would be some time before I learned the details. After the old army's... what the fuck? After the old army's Nakano school was dismantled, a new Fusho-based intelligence agency was created to fill the void, eventually growing into a kind of secret police force under direct ministry control. Later, its headquarters were relocated to Ichigaya, a word that's become synonymous with the organization for those who deal with it. If you're just looking for the basic facts, it seems like a respectable enough government organization, but in reality, it's a suicide battalion, mostly made up of expendable personnel with skeletons in their closet.
随分と嫌な言い方だけれど、間違ってはいないわね。
You ain't wrong.
家族なし、未来なし、凄惨な過去は山盛り。刑務所に入れて無駄飯を食べさせるぐらいなら、使い潰すつもりでただ同然でリクルートできる人材をあえて選ぶ。
Feels real bad.
歪んだナイフも直せば使える。刺さって折れても惜しくはない。死んだら死んだで死体の使い道を考える。朝子本人は市ヶ谷での勤務を執行猶予と揶揄して辞めたがっていたけれど、一度首まで浸かれば二度と抜け出せないのが SARS。 そこで朝子は作戦で救出した子供を引き取り、保護観察するという名目で予備役登録をする約束を取り付けたというわけよ。
Yeah, I was gonna say, she got herself in reserve. That's something. I'm amazed they let her quit to take care of a kid, honestly.
保護観察対象がヒースオスロの私兵だった子供だというのなら話は別よ。それにあなたももう知っているとは思うけど、あなたを引き取った当時の朝子はもう肉体的に限界が近かったのよ。
Yeah, certainly sounded like it last time.
少なくとも有力な戦闘隊員として機能するには 太陽限界に近かった。だから朝子は自分の後継者たるあなたを育てることにした。
We've been over this before, but you've got that wrong. I chose to succeed Asuko on my own free will.
当時のあなたに他の選択肢を用意できなかった時点で強制したのも同じことよ。
I did have a choice. Somehow or other, you managed to prepare me a perfectly clean identity with all the paperwork. I'm the one who rejected that future you offered me. And I still don't regret it. Not even now. Ugh!
へえ。
I was gonna say the music fucking stopped, but it's back. Well, I know I've caused you plenty of trouble, and I do feel bad about it.
へえ。
Look, don't look at me like that. I spent my first paycheck to buy you a watch, didn't I?
ああ、そういうこと言っちゃうのね。つまり何？あなたから見た私って高いものを買い与えておけば自分は大事にされてると勘違いする安い女なのね。
I used a whole paycheck to buy you a watch. That watch must have been the best fucking thing ever. You were happy, weren't you?
そりゃあ、まあね。
I've been told I was a piece of trash for most of my life, but I found a job I could do and I earned money doing it. The cash itself didn't mean much to me, so I decided to use it to buy you a present. Something that would last. I didn't really think about my reasons at the time, but I think I wanted someone to have something to remember me by, since I wasn't going to leave much behind if I died.
それがどうして私なのよ。
Asuko wasn't the sort to appreciate presents, for one thing. And for another, I was pretty certain you'd outlive me.
そんなのわからないじゃない。デスク組の私だって絶対に安全ってわけじゃないわ。
More so than being out in the field. No, you're safe. I wouldn't let anything happen to you. Oh. Oh. As long as I'm alive, you're safe, JB. Oh.
そっか。
What's so funny?
いや、ごめん。もうずっと昔に、まだ私と朝子が養護施設にいた頃、全く同じことを朝子に言われたのを思い出したわ。
I mean, Asuka was basically replaced by me, who is basically just her, but slightly different.
施設の大人ですら信用できなかったあの当時、私は朝子だけを信じていた。そっか。朝子にしろあなたにしろ、なんで私こんな面倒なやつを真面目に面倒を見てるんだろうって思ってたけどそういうことか。
You've done a lot for me, and that's why, as long as I can protect you, I don't regret becoming the person I am today.
やばい。私今この子にプロポーズされたら絶対に断れない。
You alright there, JB?
まあないけどね、そんなこと。
Want to marry me, by the way? Just question mark?
で、どこまで話したっけ？
She just quit. Anywho, you were up to the point where Asuko told me about her job. You know, you remember? I love that little thought of JB at the end. If you proposed, I wouldn't be able to say no. Oh, good golly goodness, dude. I mean, at least I will say, at least we haven't been dealing with true sadness for a little bit now. I mean, it's still, you know, certain things are coming, but like, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of nice to have a break in the depression, for me anyway, because I can only handle too much of it.